Come on, Joe. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How you doing? This is Coach Carvel Bailey, and I want to welcome you to yet another episode of Life and Basketball. And here on this show is where we talk about how a little orange ball has helped change, impact, and oftentimes save the lives of those people attached to it. Now, my name is Coach Carvel Bailey, and I am your show host. And the show is being brought to you by Bless the Ball Consulting Group, where we help middle, high school, and junior college guards become more college and recruitment ready by helping them just understand and mastering their mindset, their confidence, their IQ, and making them a more recruitable presence in today's game and society. Our special guest tonight, all right, is no stranger to the show. In fact, our special guest tonight is what I would like to call one of our resident hosts. His resume is impeccable, goes beyond words, but I'm gonna try to do it some justice, right? High school standout, JUCO standout, 4-year college standout. Coached on the women's side, won a whole lot of awards and championships, went to the men's side and duplicated the exact same thing that he did on the men's side, right? On the women's side. And then he came back to the women's side and has continued to do the same thing yet again and at another place. All right. This guy is somebody that I would like to call a brother, definitely a colleague in this basketball fraternity. I would like to present to some and introduce to others the head coach of Stephens College by way of athletic director, right? He wears a number of different hats, but I would like to introduce everybody to my buddy, my colleague, my boy, my friend, Andre Bell. Dre, what's up, baby? How you feeling?
What's going on? What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, man. Welcome back. So, we not gonna necessarily do the song and dance, but briefly for the people who may not know you, because your audience opens and spreads every day, so is mine. Just explain to the people who is Andre Bell, the person as well as the basketball savant.
Well, the person just, as my buddy Keith Parks would always say, just a kid from Southside Chicago. Grew up in Southside Chicago, went to Brennan, and then I went to West Portland. Then I went to Finger High School, graduated there, and then stayed home locally and played at Wilbur Wright College. And then from there I left and went to Bemidji State in northern Minnesota. So had a chance to get out of Chicago streets and, try to expand the learning of growth. And, the growth and development part was a chance to get out of the city and get away and go to a place to become a better person. And that use basketball as my tool. And, from there, just got a chance to graduate, get a degree in sports management. And so just really blessed to have an opportunity to let basketball be a platform for me to help myself and eventually help my family. So it's been a really good thing.
Man, that's big, and you jump right into it, and you called it, you said learning of growth, and just like growth and development, constantly evolving, right? And you went away as I'm taking notes. Here's why I'm looking down. You stated about just being a better person, right? So you didn't like you mentioned where you played, but that was all that you mentioned about basketball, right? What I just heard you mention is you have been on a constant quest. And for those that know you, your trademark saying, right? You have a trademark saying, right? Strive for greatness, right? Well, what I've heard you talk about growth and becoming a better person, none of the basketball things is possible without being the best Andre Bell that you can be. Is that right?
Yes. Yep, that's true. The biggest thing is like, so everything I write, for people that follow me, the people that know me, I always talk about chasing greatness. And that never gets old to me because I'm constantly trying to be a better version of myself. And in order to be that, I fell into a role of a role model for some when you don't have to, and that's for my children, and that's also for our players.
Mm,
And so to model the right behavior, to be a leader, whether as a captain of a team or athletic director for a brief time of a college or a program or the head coach of a program, what am I doing to represent three things: my family, my program, basketball wise, and then the college in itself. So the biggest thing is to make sure that night in and night out throughout the city, throughout games, throughout coaching, throughout traveling and recruiting, there's a representation and it's
mm,
bigger than me. So, the biggest thing I told myself is what am I doing to give back? What am I doing to constantly push the right message? And that message is to make sure we consistently getting better as people. Because at the end of the day, like my biggest thing in my philosophy of coaching is I want my players to learn, grow, and get better even through failure because that's something I had to do. And when I recruit, the biggest thing I tell recruits is there's a lot of other places you can go for basketball, but here we're going to value you as a person first.
mm.
And so that's something that's really important. So that is the chase and the quest to constantly grow and build relationship with students, players, parents, or even other coaches.
Okay. So I love this, and I see what you're doing here, right? So you're not holding no punches, and you coming right out the gate teaching, which I love, right? And so I'm gonna slow down over the things that you say. I want you to keep cooking, right? And I'm gonna just add some seasoning in our conversation because it's definitely a teachable moment, learning moment as I'm looking at my notes again and I'm writing down the things that's making sense to me. You're stating, right? You said like being a role model.
Mhm.
Um, well, we're old enough to talk about Keith. What up? Dre just talked you up. You must have a radar on you, baby. um, Keith, definitely share this out, man, with the people that you know need to learn tonight. All right. But Dre, I heard you talk about being a role model, and we old enough to remember Charles Barkley saying he wasn't a role model, right? And unfortunately, what I heard you say is you've you have to be a role model to one group, your kids, right? But then you choose to be a role model to another group, the group that you serve, which is your students, school community, family, your program, and the college.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure as the head coach, you've been an assistant coach, you've been a player. Have you ever been in a room and somebody walked up to you that knew you and you had no idea who they was, Dre?
I have. I have. And it's crazy because it's like it comes with the territory sometimes.
Yep.
And that's why I say, like, you create an avenue and then when it opens, like somebody's watching, and I
That's
learned
the
this
point I'm getting at.
like
Right.
a long time ago, and I say this all the time. Like I tell my players, you're your own CEO.
Yep.
Somebody is always watching what you do, when you're doing it, how you're doing it, if you're doing it
Yep.
right, if you're doing it wrong, or how can they take from it. And so I've met people that's like, I know your story, man. You don't know me, but yada yada yada. So it's one of those things where it's like being ready all the time. And I've met those people, and like the one thing that I appreciate most that people say is like, you talk to everybody, man. It's not, I mean, you've done some things, you've been successful, but it's like, you just like a human. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that, when they coach at these high levels or they
And they
coach,
reach a certain
yeah,
status. Yep.
like kind of forget that. And the one thing I don't want to forget is I don't want to forget where I came from because I know I've been through hard times to get to where I'm at. So I
Yep.
want to be as human and as vulnerable as possible, because
Yeah.
that's where the realness come from.
And yeah, to your point, that's attractive, right? So many of our athletes are attempting to be other people, right? And it's causing them a lot of stress, a lot of anguish, because for whatever reason, and again, to your point, being like somebody's always watching, and that's why I asked the question, because you can be anywhere, right? I'm I'm sometimes out the country, and my wife always like, you always know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
One of my neighbors, he had a he had a relative over from Arkansas somewhere, and he saw me in my backyard, and they walked down to my house, and he said, "Hey man, my cousin want to meet you." He like, "Man, you the one do the show." No idea, right? But to your point, if you want to be or not, you're representing your brand, right? You're the CEO of your brand, and that brand consists of you, your family, which you talked about, but
Mm-hmm.
also the program, that's the name on the front of the shirt, and the college who's creating that environment, because the students ultimately are the fans that's coming to the game.
Yeah.
So somebody's always watching you, how you act in class, if you're performing in class. So the camera's always on. And it's not just for players, it's also for coaches. And to
Yeah.
your point, when coaches get to a certain level, or players, then they want to shun, look down, act as though they didn't have humble beginnings. Some did, some didn't. But you also talked about you want them to learn, grow, and get better through failure.
Yeah.
Man, so many people are afraid to fail, Dre. Like, talk about why did you put that on the end? Like, why did, because they can learn, like people feel like they can learn without messing up. People feel like they can grow without messing up, or they feel like they can get better without messing up, right?
Right.
Why do you encourage doing those things through failure?
Because like I'm living proof, but more people like if everything is quote unquote easy or given to you or it's just a smooth sail, then like there's no comfort in that. I
Yep.
mean, there's just comfort in that. And when you can go through some stuff, like I tell kids, failure can be whether it's a test, whether it can be some things you've been through family wise, mental wise, and if it's on the court wise or I didn't play a certain way, like so what are you doing about it? But don't let that be like what breaks you or what deter you from keep on trying. And so when you grow, okay, I mean if you put a plant out there and the seed is planted and you water it and then you don't water it, that seed is in there. Eventually, through the rain, through the snow, like the grass is gonna grow.
Mm-hmm.
Flower is gonna grow. You just gotta take care of it no matter what. You just gotta keep pushing at it.
Yep.
And I try to tell my players, like I've had in my 4 years here going into my fifth year now, I've had six first time graduate players come to our program.
Mm.
And they have been out of college. They've been on the couch. They've been people who kind of been overlooked. They were second chance type of players, women in this stage. But it was just like, I need a chance. I need somebody that can support and push. And through those times for them, they end up growing, man. I'm talking about like the tears, the
Yeah.
one-on-one me, like, man, coach, I'm just gonna give this thing up. And I'm like, that's what everybody else gonna do. So I try to tell them that's what everybody is expecting you to do. So when you do different and you keep pushing for it, well, what I'm supposed to do, coach, you're supposed to put one foot in front of the other, and you're supposed to put yourself in position to do it one day at a time. You trying to do it in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years in 2 days. So the process of it is to go through it. And I always tell them to get through hard. You ain't going over it. You ain't going under it. You ain't going around it. You got to go right through it. And on the other side of that is the successful part of it. So that's why I tell them, like, failure is what you need to show that you can do other things when they become hard. So that's my biggest thing. I don't want our players to, like, my biggest thing with coaching and players is like, if my players on a fast break and they miss a shot or they shoot an air ball or they like at a free throw line and they miss free throws that could have tied a game or something, it's like they didn't want to do that. That
Mhm.
wasn't design. I want to make this shot. I want to be open.
Right.
So I'm not judging that. I'm judging what you do after that because you mainly embarrassed you missed a wide open layup. But I'm gonna be more upset if you don't get back on defense because you got four other people counting on you. So failure, yes, but the other part of that is to get over yourself and kind
Mm.
of battle through it because I tell our players all the time, you ain't going through this crap alone. And that's what we're here for. So that's what I mean when I say learn, grow, and get better even through failure. Because everybody goes through something. It's how you handle it.
Man, I'm sitting here smiling, yet almost tearing up because I know you, right? And like where it come from, Dre. Like for the people that don't know, because okay, let me ask you this question first. And I want you to be real honest with me and as vulnerable as you can. How hard is coaching, man? Because what I'm hearing you doing is beyond coaching. Like how and I'm not gonna say hard, how challenging, even though enjoyable, how challenging is it being in that first seat? Because a lot of people don't really understand.
Yeah, we call it 18 inches. You move from assistant coach to head coach. There's a difference of 18 inches.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, not so much is hard. Like I ain't gonna even lie. I feel like I was like this is my ministry. I was born
Yeah. Yeah.
after to do it, but like I mean, I grew up, single parent home. I watched my mom like just get it done, and day in and day out, it's one of those things where when things get hard, it's like I get comfortable,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because I've seen so much and been through so much growing up in the streets of Chicago, right? You're on the South Side, people that understand the South Side of Chicago back in the day. Like, there's a thing that I had to tell myself, like, I wanted to do stuff that was different. And I wanted to put myself in position to be successful. So I wanted to try things that a lot of people didn't do. Um, I'll go back to Keith Parks, watching him just be successful and seeing him while we were standing on the streets and on the block and watching him go to college and get in these positions. I'm like, man, I'm doing that too.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I was hanging with a whole different crowd.
Right.
But I told myself I can get to that and do that because I was still playing high school basketball. He was a big star high school player. I was a big star high school player. But it's like my crowd wasn't moving in the direction that his crowd was moving in. And so for that, it gave me a chance. It's like from a distance, that's why we always talk and keep always stay in tune. I wanted to do something everybody else wasn't doing from my side of things.
Yeah.
And that drove me more than anything. And it put me in position to everybody would say, man, you always got something to say. Because I want to tell you when you're doing something, and to be blunt about it, when you're doing something stupid. And I'm gonna always say something. So if I
And that's
can
even the young Dre. And that's
yeah, yeah. If I can say something to you to make you like think about like, yeah, stupid, ain't it? Yeah, exactly. So let's just go this way. Let them do that, and we'll live to talk about what we did yesterday, and their outcome is going to be totally different from us. So, basketball has given me a chance to go through my stuff, but I also know there's other people that's kind of going through similar or different
yeah.
because there's people with a whole house, mom and dad. They got money and they got things, but the biggest thing they got is gifts and money. No relationship. Nobody really talk to because with gifts and money becomes, well, here, take this, go party, go have fun. There's nothing. But
Isolation.
I like the money. I like the gifts, but like I want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that come from the single parent homes or different broken homes or grandma become guardians, then those people also need a backbone of like maybe they don't know how to deal with a man giving them authority or different things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do to open those doors to say, look, I understand and I want to know. And the biggest thing I tell our players, I want to know exactly how you feel. I don't want the sugar coated version. Express to me your feelings. And when you listen to these young people, and they talk to you and they understand that something will happen after you listen, it's a game changer. And so that was the biggest thing for me, like mentors, like having you or having Spook or having people like Nate, having people like Pat Smith or having people like John Pelfrey and like some of these guys that was bigger enough to tell me, hey man, do this. This is going to get you the rewards. And I followed that and I seen it work for me. So my biggest thing is like, I'm not the type of coach that give up on players.
Mhm.
I'm the stubborn parent that say, man, I got to stick with my children. I got to stick with my players to see why and see why. Because if you learn them and they get to know you, they're going to run through a wall for you. But when they know you care, it changed the game. And I just want to be that one coach that they talk about as not the best coach they play for. I don't want to be the best coach a player ever played for. I want to be the best person ever played for. Because that, after 3 to 5 years, when you're still talking to them and you still communicate with them, it's like, why do you always talk about Coach Bell? Well, I don't look at him as Coach Bell because our relationship wasn't built on him being our coach. He was a mentor. He was
It
a
changed
father.
my life. Yeah.
He was a
Yeah.
big brother. He was somebody that
Yeah.
I knew when I went to him, he was going to tell me exactly the truth. So it's hard, but a lot of people don't want to do it. That's why the players are transferring now and the portals, and there's no relationship when it comes transactional. I want to be one of the few coaches that still have the transformation in his coaching philosophy rather than just what have you done for me lately? Keep it moving.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's big. And again, I like to call you a resident host because we spoke about the statement that you just made probably 4 years ago, um, in which, if a coach is only talking to a parent about the athlete part of their student, you should run fast and as far as you can away from that individual,
Yeah.
right? They should be more concerned with the person than the athlete because the person is going to influence the athlete one way or the other, right? And so, um, man, I'm gonna build off you right now. How do you how do you shorten the learning curve with trust? Because again, as John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When they
Yeah.
know how much you care, they're gonna run through a wall for you and they're gonna be willing to fight for you until the last day that they ever see you, right? How do you make that trust curve happen so fast?
I
Like
think
help some other coaches out here and even some athletes, right? What are some things, because I heard you say, and I think that this is monumental. You said listen. If young people know that you're listening and if they know that something is going to happen after they've spoke. So like, can you, and you don't have to give all your secrets, but let's help the people out. Let's help the coaches who, because in this world now, and being in from JUCO basketball,
yeah.
transfer portals, all that, we dealt with transfer every year. So that's none of that's new to us, right? But
Easy.
in the world of common basketball now, a lot of coaches and players are having difficulty because they're moving and changing so often. So when you get transfers, new kids coming in, how do you get them to trust you quickly so it's not taking 1 or 2 months and then now you got other fires to put out because of that?
The biggest thing, and my favorite player, I know Michael Jordan will always be the best and the favorite, but like Kobe said it before, the one thing we take for granted is we think we got time.
Mm,
And the biggest thing for me is to give people something that you can't give back, and that's your time.
mm,
And
yeah,
I spend a lot of time getting to know who my players are that I'm recruiting. And in that, like I tell players, if this is just about basketball, this is the biggest thing I tell them. If this is just about basketball and all you want is basketball, then you should go somewhere else. There's 300 some schools you can go to. This ain't the one for you.
mm-hmm,
Because if I didn't think you can play, we wouldn't even be on this phone. Basketball is a connection. Basketball connected us, whether it's video, whether it's
yeah,
events, whether I've saw you before and we watch you play, or a coach called me that I know from a reference or a resource of trust. So that's our connection. That's just a connection. But getting to know who you are will be more effective because maybe you got a little brother or a little sister or this situation has happened before. And then somewhere along those lines, maybe we got some similarities, maybe we got some difference, but we get to grow in things. And our conversation, I can show you basketball, I can show you winning, I can pull up this, I can pull up that, but I can't get to know who you are if I always talk to you about, hey, I want you to come in and be this great player. You're going to be this shooting guard. You're going to be this post. Man, we need you to help us win championships. Like, great. But coach, do you want to know who I am? Do you want to know things about me? Do you want to I know all of my players' birthdays. And I got them on my calendar. I got them on my phone. I sing happy birthday to every single player that's in my group chat. And when their birthday come
That
up,
means so much.
I
That
wake
that
up in
means
the
so much.
morning, I'm like, hey, happy birthday. I sing happy birthday, yada, yada, yada. So I build a connection leading up to that. And so I tell them I want my difference. I don't want if it's about levels, because right now I'm at the NAI, I've been at top level JUCO, I've been at Division One, so I don't really care about levels.
Right.
Like I can recruit with the best of them. But the biggest separation for me is I'm going to put more time than you are on getting to know who I'm recruiting. And I want my separator to be the investment that I put in them, not basketball.
Yeah.
Because I ain't worried or fearful of anybody on no basketball level. But when you get those players to understand, like, man, like I had a kid who's about to graduate now, another kid, a 4-year kid. She went from freshman to senior, which is really rare. And she's graduating. And the day she was the first kid I signed when I came to Stevens. And she tore her ACL her senior year. And the one thing she tell recruits all the time, coach could have left me like a lot of other teams did. He stayed with me. He checked on me. Talked about surgery. Talked about PT. I got to know him. And when she got healthy, she still had some D2 type of players, schools that wanted her.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, I ain't going nowhere else because I know this coach care about me because I understand. It's like she knew me before she got on campus. And so that's the biggest thing. Like from a coaching perspective, or coaches listening or people listening, like they will be people longer than they will be basketball players. And I'm living proof.
Yeah.
So I'm 43 now. I graduated in 2008, and basketball was kind of over after that, based off injury stuff. But like, I'm a person, and so what are you going to be after the coaching tag leave? Then you got
Yeah.
to be the
Yeah.
mentor, do
Yeah.
different things, and so that's where I look at it.
Yeah. And I think that's big. You talk about giving them something that you can't get back, which is time. And I think in building that relationship with your players, getting them to know that you want to know about them, right? The um
I mean, Carvel, I've been in weddings. My former
yeah.
players, I've hired 3 of my
Mm-hmm.
former players as my assistants.
Mm-hmm.
So like, people can talk it. I'm
Yeah.
living it. Our
Right.
players are really getting through this thing, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, and so I was about to say my dad always talked about the law of reciprocity, right? Like, but the reciprocity from building that relationship is probably a bigger payoff for us as the coaches. Because, like you said, you've been in 3 weddings or weddings. You've hired 3 players. Our players know us also because we spend so much time with them. So there are days when Coach Bell don't feel his best, or Coach, you know what I'm saying? But those that know you, they know, hey, either we bet not mess up, or I need to kind of pull Coach to the side, say something, and because as coaches, we're human too, right? I think to your point, as people get up and people look at them not being human, so we have things that we're dealing with, also, and it helps, right? It helps to have genuine people to know that, hey, coach can get on me, but coach can give me a hug and give me a high five, we can cry together, we can laugh together, and more importantly, even though they're older, they still have parents,
yeah,
and to see the looks on the parents' faces with knowing that you have helped them in partnership help their kid get to a level that they wasn't able to help their kid get to by themselves. Like that's totally special. Um, oh, you giving me one? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Can you bring me a bottle of water? Um, Dre, you talked about getting over yourself, right? And I want to go back to you and Keith standing on the corner, or again, things that, and in the past, whatever. Um, you had to make a directional shift amidst the life and the environment that was around you. Uh, Duke's assistant, Emmanuel Dildy, right, was on the show a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentioned the same thing. He said that if it's Cooper Flag, the number one draft pick, or whoever, he tells players the faster you get over yourself, the faster you will become the best version of you, right? Um, what habits did you have to put in place to get over yourself, right? Like you saw what Keith was doing. And granted, it was times in which you weren't allowed to do certain things because people be like, no, Dre, right? Um, or you would be allowed, right? You was the only ninth, 10th grader playing in the grown-up tournaments, whatever, right? But what habits did you, and again, the young Dre, you always you always gonna speak your mind. But what habits had to change to help you get over yourself so that then you can meet people like Pelfrey and all of those, what habits did you have to shift?
The first one was being cool.
Oh,
Um, just being cool and trying to fit in. That was those are the two biggest ones. Trying to fit in, trying to be cool, and trying to doing what what they say sometimes what the cool kids were doing. And I had to understand that everybody ain't trying to go where I was going.
mm-hmm.
And so to get to those
Now, was
places,
that a hard decision to make? Not to cut you off, but
it's
like
hard.
knowing
It's
that you was gonna leave some people behind.
it's hard because it's people you love and it's people that you've been with. But like sometimes those people got to understand that I gotta just go.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's like, well, man, we trying to do this, well, yeah, you trying to do that, but if I do this, it'll help all of us later.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing for me was to eliminate the coolness, to allow myself to separate friendships and understand that if I was going to be the better version for myself, then I was going to have to go do something that not a lot of my friends kind of was doing. I can't tell you how many of my friends got college degrees. Um, but to have a college degree, to get away from Chicago and to go do different things, man, I just had to go. I had some people where, who tried to say things, well, if these people were still around, what would he be doing? Or why would you leave and you got friends that got children that probably needed you to be here? Well, I don't need to be here because in this environment, we're losing those people. And that environment is room for growth. And so people would say, I changed. Well, I did change. I changed my environment. I changed my outlook. And I changed my perspective on what I wanted for myself. And I wanted to be a better version for myself and my children. And that was the biggest thing I had to do because people will judge you no matter what, good or bad. The biggest thing I learned is your friends are one thing, but the people that support you, no matter what you do, they're going to say, well, we thought you was going to do this, but if you're not going to go D1 and you go D2, then that's where we going. We support that. You're going to Bemidji? Great. You have some Division One situation, but you're going to Bemidji? Yep, that is where I'm going. We right with you. And some people, you're stupid. You're a Division One point guard, and you can. I'm like, yeah, but Division One point guards stay close to home to Chicago, and you know my environment. You know that pool I'm swimming in. Let me go jump in this pool. And so that's what I did, and that's what changed. And it started with not being cool and not trying to hang out with the cool kids. And so for that, I lost some people, and I'm okay with that because those losses has put me in a position to be great. Not better than nobody,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
want
yeah.
better for myself.
Yeah, man, that's big. You say I was laughing because I remember because I heard what you said, right? Man, he shouldn't be going no damn minute. You know what I'm saying? Why, right? Like I'm laughing because I heard it, but it's like this kid is going to college for free, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Like let's look at it for what it's worth. Now you say that you don't know how many of your friends have college degrees. I'm gonna go on a limb and ask you, do you know how many of them is not with us anymore or locked up?
Yeah, quite a few of those. Quite a few of those. I know more of that than I know who got college
Yeah,
degree.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but again, the life we chose.
Right,
The life
right.
we chose. Some chose to do different. Some chose to stay, and lost some phenomenal people. But that's the circumstance, and that's where we grew up at.
Yeah,
It's part of Chicago. It's part of what we have to deal with. Some of us can make it out, and some of us can't. But there's some really good people that's still back home that's doing amazing things because they stuck it out and they stay out the way and they do different things and take care of their family. For me, and knowing who I am, and for the people that know me, knowing my circle of people, it was best for me to make the moves I made,
yeah,
and I think that's the reason I'm still breathing.
yep, yep. And so you go off to college, man. You do some good things. After you obviously get over yourself. And parents that's listening, right? Coach Bell said he had to stop being cool. He had to stop trying to fit in, right? I heard Coach Steve Hawkins at Western Michigan at the time say this to a group of campers. It is not cool to be cool on the basketball court. That can be a deal breaker because, yeah, like for athletes that want to be cool, your movements, your strides, everything, just how they process things, can be difficult. And then don't try to fit in today's society. It's difficult. Cell phones, everything is always on. Um, but as Coach Bell said earlier, right, just being true to himself, and that's attractive for the right people. And so with that, Coach, I want to talk about Stevens College because y'all are in the NAIA school, y'all are in the American Midwest Conference. You've talked about the graduates that you've had, and for the people that don't understand, on a college level, APR matters. Academic progress rate matters. That's, as Coach Bell said, how many players are you graduating that came in freshman year to finish senior year? Coaches get fired because they aren't graduating students. Like college is an institution of learning. Say it again, Dre.
Just especially at this level because retention and people and numbers and things of
Yeah.
that nature.
Yeah.
So
So don't get so caught up in the transfer portal and all of those things, right? College to me is about being able to finish something, complete something, right? No matter how long it takes you, what challenges, difficulties that you can get through. Um, but you all, man, have um, done some great things. But the past 2 years, y'all have had back to back 20-win seasons. I'm going to lean in a little close. For the people that don't understand, the measurement for college coaches and programs, the the measurement, the ruler, right? It's a 20-win season. Most teams are only scheduling 27 to maybe 30 games a year, not counting post season tournaments. So to win 20 out of 27 or 20 out of 30, that's a huge feat and accomplishment. And it's really, I'm going to go on the limb and say it, Coach Dre don't have to say it. It's something, it's an unwritten rule that we're looking for. It's a status bar to show that you're different than other programs, right? You're not 14 and 16, a losing season, or 19 and 18, and right, like 20 wins is impressive. And y'all have done that back to back, the first time in school's history. That speaks to the culture. And you talked about how you build trust, and that adds to the culture. Again, I don't want you to give out your trade secrets, but you as a player, what culture were you comfortable in? What environment um, helped you thrive, and then how do you try to mirror that with your culture? Because winning 20 games is hard, and y'all did it back to back. And last year y'all won 22. Am I right?
23,
23.
24, and then 23.
Yeah. So like talk about that, Dre. Like building that and like this is your fourth year. So building that thing, man, like what does that look like? You know, I know y'all do camps and things. Like, what does that look like?
The crazy part is when I took the job, I had a lot of people tell me I was crazy. For people that don't know, even the people that's here that knew I was coming because I left here coming from Tennessee Tech. The biggest thing for me was my family. So I chose to leave Division One because of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the greatest thing I could ever do is put my family in position to be happy first. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't worried about me when it came to basketball, but Stevens was a college that before I got there was like 1 win, 2 wins, 5 wins, 3 wins, no wins. And so to get here, a lot of people told me I was crazy. But the first thing I had to do when I got here, I had to change the club culture. It was a club culture, and I was coming from a championship culture.
Wait a minute, break that down, Dre. Hold on, I ain't gonna let you go fast over that. What's the difference in the club culture and
Well,
championship culture?
people who think, well, oh, it's just basketball. Oh, it's just a game. We can show up. We don't have to compete every day. And for me, being at Trinity Valley, being at Mobley, working under Coach Pat Smith, like for us, like the expectation for us was championship is what winning games.
Mm.
And people thought I was crazy when I got here and said, no, I'm coming here to win championships. And like, man, you're not winning championships just Stephen. Well, we've done that. We won the first conference championship in any school history
Wow.
sport. And so, but that took every single day making sure our players saw what it looked like. You're gonna go to class,
Mm.
you're gonna go to study hall, you're gonna have individual workouts, you're gonna have team workouts, and you're gonna do it again every single day. You'll get your off days. You're gonna watch film. You're gonna watch practice film. You're gonna watch game film. You're gonna have film sessions individually. And for those players, when I first got here, it was like, whoa, yes, you're doing that. And in that was building a culture. If you want to be here, you can stay here, but this is going to be every single year, not every other year. And so we've had players who was like, Coach, I really didn't come here for this. I want to go closer to home and kind of play sports. But I knew what they were saying. This wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who stayed, they benefited from it. And one kid I really love since I've been here, she's graduated now and she's making money playing basketball. Marvine Ross was somebody that just she helped me change this culture. It started and ended with her. She transferred from Kobe, Kansas, in JUCO, and she was one of the kids that I got. And then you brought a kid like Kaylin Iron, started as a freshman. She'll graduate this year as a senior. But you brought people in that the players that was here knew they had no chance to beat out because they really love the
Mm.
fact that they can compete
Yeah.
every single day and the culture change. And like to be honest with you, like Marvin would say, man, coach, these girls win me out, coach. It's always while you got to practice or while you're working out or while you watch. And so when we start bringing those people in that expected to compete, that expected to win, that expected and wanted to work out, man, it ran people off. And then you start to bring a culture of people in here was like, okay. And then you go into that second year, you win the most games in school history at 16. And I'm like, 16 wins. That's not good.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, people are jumping up and down and they're like, oh man, this guy. But the culture had changed. So I
Changing. Yeah.
understood. And when I saw that, then it's like we come in now we beating top 25 teams and they never even competed with them. Like you beat them. You're not just competing with them, you beat them.
You beat them.
And then you get into year three and then you go win it. You win the conference, you win 24 something wins, you go to the national tournament, you win national tournament games, and now it's like you did that in 3 years. And so then year four, like this year, we was really banged up and injured, but we still scored 23 games out of it. But
Because the
it's
coach is in place now.
yeah, the
Coach is
coaches
in
in
place.
place,
Yeah.
and I'm humble enough, but crazy enough. But I grew up like people got to understand. Like Guy Fur, they just won a national championship at Trinity Valley on the men's side. Like that was my mentor.
Right.
Like these guys can be no win championships, not games, and they going after the best of the best when it comes to players. And being under Coach Pat Smith, I'm like multiple conference championship, district championships, Elite Eight, sweet. Like so, I've been in that environment and winning that type of stuff. And then the men's side, coaching with Michael Landers and Bill Damon, like these are national championship coaches. So to date, I've never worked for a coach who's not in the Hall of Fame. So my message is totally different from what I'm getting as a youngster coming out of college.
Yeah.
So I see it different. And so culture, like culture don't graduate, and I'm doubling down on that every single year. And for that, and for us to be successful, I've had the support since I've been here, Stevens. Really excited. We got a new president. She's kind of getting the feet wet, this year, and hadn't really had a chance to sit down and pick up brain. But I'm really excited about our leadership that's taking place here now. And so moving forward is to make sure we all on the same page and speaking the same tune. But I'm really excited about Stevens now and what's going on and what's to come. But like our culture here is family. Like our culture is built on basketball. Basketball is the easiest thing I will teach my players. But our culture is built on a family culture. Our culture is built on be accountable, but we want you to leave here dependable. You can be accountable. Hey, coach, my bad. I did that. Hey, coach, my bad. But accountability is one thing, but dependability is critical. And so, can we depend on you to be somebody we can count on every single day to get it done? And that's what our coaches turn to. And so now, like our schedule this year, we got 8 teams that made the national tournament. We'll be on ESPN playing Tennessee Tech, who won the OVC. We playing UCM, one of the top Division II schools. I want to play any and everybody, but our culture is built on that. So that's why we go on to play whoever. But our culture is family. Basketball is something that's changed lives, and we want to keep using it to do that.
Yeah, no, man, that's you said a lot. And I want to go over, just kind of the important pieces that I heard. Because I heard the question was when you talk about a club culture as opposed to a championship culture, and I think you broke it down eloquently, and it's so much to unpack. But specifically for my parents, right? I want y'all to listen. We're gonna slow down for a minute. Understand what Coach Bell said. Because see, Drake, a lot of people want to be the star. They want to be the man. They want to be the woman. But that's hard work, man. Like it's hard. Like everybody want to be that until they find out what it takes to be that, right? But now you coming from a mindset, and this is something that I didn't know. But you said everybody that you have worked for, and I believe played for, well,
worked and played for, yeah,
is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So your mindset coming in is already different than everybody else, right? I remember when I first got a job at Truman, and they told me in the interview, they said, well, we'll be happy if you win one game. And I almost didn't get the job because I almost said something that I would like, you know what I'm saying? But I held my tongue, and I remember calling my wife, and I said, like, I can will them to one game. You know what I'm saying? Like, all my energy and push you to win one. But I was like, the expectations are so low based on where I'm coming in at. But you rolled out the schedule. And all of these things is part of practice.
Yeah.
People think just on the court is practice. So a typical day at Stevens College for a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, as you broke down, can you give me a schedule of a typical student athlete so that, see, because people think, oh, they ain't D1, they NAIA. It's not about the division. It's about the level of the program that you're going to.
Yeah.
Because you can have a Division I program that's not on the same level as a junior college team. And I know it because I've done it as a junior college coach. You've done it as a JUCO coach, right? And you've been Division 1, right? So you understand what it takes to win championships.
Yeah.
So part of your marketing, what as a business person, what I'm also learning as a coach, right? They go hand in hand because as coaches, we do marketing, right? Your marketing got to attract and repel. You know what I'm saying? Like you, everybody can't come here because it ain't for you.
Yeah.
And so, what's the schedule like?
So for us, like, we got something very unique. We got what's called a block schedule. So our players go to class from 9 to 12. But in that, so you might have morning workouts, you might have evening workouts, individual skill work. And so, the biggest thing is, we want to make sure we knock out the books. So some kids may work out because class start at 9. We may have a 7:30 to 8:30 group, or some kids may say, "Hey, coach, I want to go at 7." So we'll mark your schedule. So we got a group of 4 here, group of 4 there, group of 4 here. Then we got our strength and conditioning in the evening. So we got a strength and conditioning coach that get up and down with our players as far as the ways to stretching, lifting. So we do every single thing as if, since people want to know, as if it was Division 1, because that's the expectation, is to be give them the best resources to be successful. So with our strength and conditioning, and then early we let them pick up and play. We kind of watch them, and so then when we get into official practice, and our practice are wars. Like I'll say this because you mentioned it. Like a typical NAIA player can't play at Stevens. Like it's like an NAIA, just somewhere to go, and it's not like this year. Our roster had a player of the year from freshman of the year from Cleveland State. She ended up transferring to us. She was here for us for the last 2.5 years. She graduated this year. Point guard was from Moorhead. She'll be back. She was a player of the year this year, newcomer player of the year. We had another big kid from Utah State, and we had another kid from Little Rock. So
we'll have D1 transfers coming in.
Division 1 transfers, D2 transfers, and JUCO. I average maybe 3 freshmen a year, 3 to 4. So when we take a freshman, we just feel like this person can help us right away. But like just day in and day out of the individual workouts. Okay, then they'll go to class, and some people have evening workouts. And then we'll get into our strengthening and conditioning stuff. And then during the season, when the season starts, then you have the individual workouts that end into practice. So sometimes we practice them from 1 to 3:30 or 1 to 4, just depending. And as we get deeper into the season, then it's about quality over quantity. But day in and day out, you're going to have a schedule laid out. We're going to have a study hall structure. Like study hall is mandatory, whether you're 4.0 or not, whether you're 3.5 or not, because it's a consistency that comes with life that says every single day you got to go to work, you got to show up. If the work is done, then we understand you got nothing to do. And if you get stuff that you can do ahead, then let's get ahead. I would love playing with the lead. You ain't got to be behind. And that's what I tell players. So, academics, you didn't come here just to be a basketball player. So we want to make sure the individual workouts, the strength and conditioning workouts, the tutoring, they got group tutoring, individual tutoring, and we got study hall, which is mandatory. We do grade checks every 2 weeks, and we do assignment checks every week. And so my goal is to get you across the stage. Winning games is something we all want to do. Yeah, but we're here to compete for championships, and we're here to get degrees. So, we try to break it down. And what I do is I give them August, September, October, November, December. That's the first semester. That whole schedule is broken down for them. And then we got January, February, March, second half.
Because now they've kind of built up the habit of the culture. Y'all gonna hold their hand first semester, walk them through it. The expectations, what's needed, everything. Y'all love that. So
and then the big thing about not holding their hand, and we talked about it earlier, is a culture. So your returns are saying like, we don't do that. Like we do this. Don't get me in that stuff with him, because he put us on that baseline. And we got a favorite saying at Stevens. If I tell my players, I'll say this, what happens to one of us, their rebuttal would be happens to all of us. And so that's one thing that we police each other. And the player we're in program is a championship program. If I'm the leader of everything, we ain't winning.
Yeah. And I talked about it in my first book, but I called it um I'm trying to think of the name that I called it, but it's like, yeah, to your point, everybody's going to suffer
Mm-hmm.
or succeed, right? Like, and until those habits are built and put in place. But now, you got class, individual work, weights, film, study hall, tutoring. What I love hearing you say that they do individual as well as group, right? So that you can understand personally. But now, when you get in the group, the learning is going to be, exponential. You're learning from yourself as well as other people.
Because as each individual get better, the team get better.
Bingo. And as you said, this is all practice. That you're expected to do this, and I'm pretty sure at some point, you and Dan and y'all have maybe I know at UIC, we had like media training, or just different things. I know because I've been trying to get you to bring me in, but I know that you've brought other people in dealing with personal development, right? So it's not just about the basketball, right? It's about developing the whole individual. But with that, right, you said going from accountability to dependability, and you talked about like maybe bringing in some high school players that can play
Right
on
away.
your level, right?
Right.
Last year, because you also double, and you still coach spring ball. You won the national EYBL championship last year, 15U, right? Being in that environment, and it gets a lot of bad rap.
Oh man.
I'm one who gives it a lot of bad rap because I think that there are some good programs in spring, summer ball. Majority of the programs aren't teaching good habits, probably teaching bad habits. And to your point, talk about championship. Championship is not, as a basketball coach, if I can do my job, I can teach you how to play basketball. Like you said, that's the easiest thing that you'll teach your players while they're under you. So I think that environment, that culture can be bad for basketball because everybody has different goals and things they're trying to achieve with that thing there. As you're going out and coaching, yet recruiting in that same environment, how beneficial is, and I'm saying spring and summer ball because everybody call it AAU, but it's not. Most people not even under that umbrella anymore, right? But so, how beneficial is spring and summer ball? And as a college coach, what are you looking for when you attend these events?
To be honest, I'm watching to see if kids know how to play basketball.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
And when I say know how to play basketball, like everybody know you want to shoot, you want to score, you want to do these things, but like when you can see, like, because nowadays, I tell you, I went on some visits and I seen some things with some people, and what sticks out to me more is even talking to the head women's coach at TCU. Like, if you can't play in pick and roll and read defense and things of that nature, you ain't playing high level basketball. And so, what can you do? Can you read the defense to a ball screen action? Can you get the ball moving? Do you understand talk? Do you understand spacing? Do you understand why your coach telling you to move the ball? Like if you just out there trying to score, some coaches gonna recruit people that can score. But like at the end of the day, like some people want to know, like, man, this kid got in there, got on 2 feet, kid helped on the pick and roll. She threw it to a person that lift out that corner. Like that ain't basketball of just that's teaching. Like somebody taught you and showed you what to do when you see this situation.
Yep.
That ball should go there. And when they see you playing a certain way, it's like, man, her IQ. Like people don't understand like her IQ. Like she's so talented. Like, but you get on like our team, like that team last year had like 2 8th graders that got probably I can't even count the new number, what it's called Power Four. Power Four offers. But like those kids sacrificed them for us. And I used to tell them, like, that don't make sense. If you're going to keep taking this shot and you ain't going to play no defense, then guess what? You ain't going to play.
Right.
So people say you got this really talented kid, and those kids bought into a concept of them together versus as individuals. And to be able to see that, now as you look at that group, like one of those kids, if you throw a name out there, like Jordan Haywood, she's going to be a sophomore. She's just won a gold medal on Team USA.
Mm.
And, to win a championship and young kids that understood that, man, we got to play defense to win this thing. We got to play together to win this thing. And the understanding of the extra pass and one more, they bought in it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Watching gifted, talented young players saw things one way because of talent. And then when you say, hey, let's take your talent and dumb it down and do it in a team perspective and watch what happens. And they did that with help side defense, trapping ball screens, and understanding rotation. And so they bought into that. And I think it's marketable because, hey, somebody's teaching you this because you're too young to just know that.
Right.
So the thing I like to say, and it's some other elite level programs out here on the circuit, but it's like when you see and watch kids play and coaches going to like, those kids like play basketball because not, wait, run this. We teaching them how to play continuity offense and the ball movement, player movement, getting up and down the floor and knowing how to play out of actions versus sets. Mm-hmm. So seeing kids understanding how to play basketball, the talent level takes over because how hard they play and compete, but to play together and do that. So it was special, a really good friend of mine, Greg Loxton, and the guy that I coached, and we won, the 15 Nike national championship together. But like even us, because for me it was like the college head coach with the college head coach experience. He coached college too, but it's like it wasn't no let me be the head coach because I'm a head coach, and you be the assistant. It was like we doing this together as co-head coaches, and so for us to swallow our egos and our pride, all started and ended with leadership, and we modeled the right behavior. So they can model the right behavior to see
they watching.
If he can do that for him and he can do that for him, we definitely can do that for us. And so that's what makes it special. So you watch that into some of these programs. To be totally honest, man, like some of these coaches think it's about them, and it's not. And so sometimes you just got to get out the way and see the kid grow. And it kind of fell a little bit because on the sideline they're watching when you're ripping their butts and when you on them how they're responding and what they're doing. And you see that as a coach, you're like, man, that kid is talented, but man, she got her butt ripped, she got right back to it. And so if we coach them at that age, then they're prepared for college. And so that's what I look at when I'm watching, when I'm not coaching and I'm watching, I'm like, that freshman could play for me.
Yeah. And that's what, and what we do, but with like, with Bless the Ball and our Hoops Mastery program, for a long time, it was like knocking down the walls of Jericho, right? Like hitting the brick wall because, again, from a championship mindset, I'm coming in. Most parents feel like, well, how can my kid learn from you like this virtually if I'm in Arkansas or Florida and you're in the Chicagoland area? Well, it takes a special type of player to be intelligent enough to be able to hear and understand what you're saying and make those adjustments, because really basketball is not just about basketball, right? And it's definitely not, it's only 10% physical. And so I hear you say gifted versus talented, and those are two totally different things, right? I think a lot of coaches, to your point, that think it's all about them, they feel like if I can get a whole lot of gifted players, 6'5", long arms, then I can beat up on people. Well, those players aren't necessarily talented or know how to play basketball. The reason I asked you to break it down is I just posted a video today about there's so many players who play basketball, but not a lot of people know how to play basketball. So from your standpoint, as a college coach coming in, even though you're co-coaching, but you looking at something ain't nobody else in the gym eyes is probably even fixated to see, right? To your point, you can tell somebody's been coached because you would have no way of getting out of that situation that you got yourself into unless somebody has helped you throughout that process.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents, when they go to these events and they feel like, oh, I'm going to get exposure, and we know too early exposure can get
Exposure, or you're going to get exposed.
exposed, right? Because you're not ready. So, and if you got three spots for three high school players, because you got D1, D2, NAIA, really more mature young ladies coming in.
Yep.
Well, now you ain't just looking at who can fill up a stat sheet. It's, to your point when we started, all those culture things: family, program, college, learn, grow, get better through failure, all of those things. And I'm pretty sure at your age, your experience, you can tell if a player can play in the warm-up line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it don't take you that long to spot talent. It's all the other things. Can they be compatible? And I'm saying that to bring me to this question, because you said earlier, you'll have players who are from a reference or a resource of trust. I had a coach tell me a while ago, man, when I got into coaching, he said, I would rather have players place with me than players that I recruit. Because players that's placed with me, they have an extra support system than just a player that I recruited. Because that player that's placed with me, and to your point, you said a reference or a resource of trust. So if you trust me and I got somebody for you. Well, now, from my standpoint, if you call me about a kid and that kid messing up, I can call you, hey, Dre, you need to talk to your cousin, your boy, whoever. This is what I'm about to do. So now it's a different conversation because they know I'm disappointed. But now they like, oh, Coach Bell know too? Oh, well, so when you talk about a reference or a resource of trust, at this point in your career, how many of those players are coming to you like that?
I think it's a combination. The biggest thing for me is like, I got people that have called me, like, so right when August, when school started, people will call me and text me and say, hey, what you need for 26? Or are you even looking at 27s right now? Because I got 3 27s right now. Here's their name. You should be keeping these kids on your radar. So, like, I've had great success, phenomenal success with Wisconsin area, Milwaukee, Madison, Kenosha. Great success, and I credit that to Andrew McNair and Bree Love. Those guys are really good friends of mine, monumental in the area of Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, and those people's like, hey, another kid, hey, this is a kid that boom, this is another kid, and so having that, like you going back to what, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If the
Yeah.
well's working, I'm going back. And so for me, is to, hey, what you got for this year? Who should I be looking at? So that's huge for me because I've had my trust broken before,
I was
and
going to ask that.
with
Have you had a coach?
with when coaches say, man, I got a kid for you, she's a great kid, she blah 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 here. Then they get there and it's like, whoa. But I didn't know you and I took a chance. And so you still kind of take those chances, but you're more hesitant. And so my thing now becomes like when you tell me, hey, I got to play and I kind of don't know you, I'm trying to see who you know that I know. That's going to tell me that, hey, Andre called me about a kid. You know, Andre? Man, don't deal with his kids. Don't. So now, like, but you got to get burnt. You're young. You still got to learn. You got to touch the fire sometimes. So, that was important for me. But like, it told me a lot. And this happened, last year through our championship, not this past season, but through our championship run. We had to move that talented player on. And like, look, really good. And you're very talented, but you're just not for us and our culture. And if it ever becomes between an individual talented player and our program, I'm rolling with the program 110%. And so we had to make, those hard decisions because it's never about an individual. And it became, so when I said earlier that you don't want to just get rid of kids, there's an addition and a subtraction factor. And the one thing we ain't subtracting is our culture. And if you constantly taking away from it, it ain't working because now you have players speaking about the disruption and the confusion and the cancers so now they're watching me saying, "We know how much you like her. We know how much you like her and how talented she is because we see it. You talked about it because you brought her on the visit and we watch her recruiting. Yes, she is. But is she more important than the rest of us? And no, our culture will always win.
Because if you make the wrong decision, not a
The
culture
trust go. The
implodes.
culture don't so much as go, but the trust in what you say and what you value when that start to weaken
Yeah.
is over.
Then it starts to implode from within. Not, and that's the hard part. A lot of times, that parents and athletes don't understand those hard conversations. Scholarships are yearly, right? And this is a results business. Players have to perform on the court as well as in the classroom. But what I just heard you say is there are instances in which you may not be asked to return. Um,
Yes.
what are some, and I know, you spoke to culture, but what are some things if you can help some young ladies, even some young guys, because you've been on the men's side too, right? What are some things that can get them lined out? And I'm talking high school kids that's looking to go some like what are things at these tournaments, at these events? What are some things that can get Coach Bell like, oh, nah, nope, I ain't even looking at this kid no more.
Attitude and body language is two of my biggest things because then the one thing I do in my coaching career is I try to coach the controllables. Okay, I talk controllables. Attitude, effort, being a good teammate, being a good leader, okay, empowering each other. Like that takes zero talent.
Yep.
When I see a kid constantly throwing their hands up and complaining, why you didn't catch it? You threw the ball like it was in your hand.
Yeah.
Or like, so it's the controllables. So when I
Mhm.
recruit, because you can see talent. Talent is not hard to see.
Yeah.
But you start looking like, oh man, and then you're looking in the crowd like, oh, I see why they act like that. Mom, dad, uncle, auntie, they acting like that. They think that's acceptable. So they
Mm.
learn that behavior from somewhere. And so for me, like I watch it because as when I was assistant and being a recruit coordinator, I gotta tell Pat Smith and John Perfrey and Bill Damon and Michael Landers, like, yeah, she can play for you. And the first thing they want to know is like, can she make it? She can play. Can she make it? Because you know what I'm going to put this
Right.
individual player through, or they're going to go through in our program. So knowing that as a recruiting coordinator, even told me more as a head coach, is like, can she play for me? Can he play for him? And so, you look at those things like, coach, just it's immaturity, but I can see some
Mhm.
good kid, just a little bit immature. But then it's like, coach,
Mhm.
we're taking that. No, coach, we can find three of those with less of that crap. No, so I look at that stuff.
So
So
have you ever not taken a kid because of their family?
yes, yes, yes,
Because I don't think, and I always ask coaches this question when they come on because I want to hammer it home. I don't think a lot of parents understand that their behavior and their reactions, coaches is looking at that too.
yeah. And
And
look at that because you got to deal with that, and that's got to show up at your games. They got to show up at your program. They got to show up at your events, and it's not personal. You just saying like, if I'm going to set you up for failure, then I'm going to go and get the kids I want. Like, because in high school, this is your team. Now,
right.
unless you're at a private school and you can go recruit and do some different things, but in college, like Bill Parcells said a long time ago, I get to pick the groceries.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if and when I talk to people, my biggest question I ask, and it's not about really giving up secrets or things of that nature. The biggest thing I say, who are the main people in your recruiting process and circle that I have to deal with that
Mm.
when you make this decision, these people gonna tell you yay or nay. Like I don't want to deal with everybody. Like I ain't
Right.
like you want to deal with everybody, but the decision makers, the people you trust, the people you love, let me talk to them.
Yeah.
because I'm going to recruit mom, dad, grandma,
Mm-hmm.
uncle, if you want me to talk to a brother that you're really close to that
Mm-hmm.
plays
Mm-hmm.
with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recruiting everybody. But even in that, I started to say to myself, okay, I can find the deal breaker and the deal maker.
Yeah.
Being in the position where I'm recruiting for those guys now, those guys I had to recruit for, like they are expecting to win. So I had to make sure I found out the stuff. So by the time it was like this, by the time it got to my head coach when I was assistant, it was like this.
No
Like coach,
surprises.
like coach, all you gotta do is this right here and
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
eliminate some of those middle people or certain people. Like no, coach, just talk to the mom and the dad. Like I've already dealt with the brothers, everything's good, or I've dealt with the this everything good. And now as a head coach, like so I tell my sister, I say, go, can they be here? Can they make it? But go after the people that I need. Like who do I need to talk to?
Mm-hmm.
And some kids, like I've had kids tell me, well, coach, I make my own decisions. I said, well, the one thing I don't want to do, and I tell players, like the one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to just deal with you. Because
Right.
whether it's money, whether it's travel, how you get here, things of that nature, I want to show you respect. It goes back to getting to know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
want to
Yep.
show you
Yep.
respect in talking to your parents. There's some coaches, if they can get away and get it done without the parents or that extra coach, they getting it done, sign it's over. I don't
Yeah.
want that.
Right.
If our
Yeah.
circle connect, then it's going to be a done deal and it's
And
going to
it,
be.
and I think it's just there there's a right way about doing things, and there's an effective way, right? You can do that and get it, but how sustainable is that, right? How much, like, how would this happen, right? And so I'm a zoom, right? So I want to get to the camera.
Yeah.
There we go, right? So it says 61 stars named to spring AD honor roll. 46 student athletes earn gold status on spring AD honor roll. So gold status is, it says awarded to student athletes who achieved a semester GPA of 3.5 or higher while maintaining full-time enrollment. Maroon level recognizes student athletes with a GPA of 3.0 to 3.49 during the semester while enrolled full-time. So 61 student athletes had at least a 3.0. 46 student athletes had at least a 3.5. Now, when we talk about culture, those are numbers for your ass right there, because 61 kids, that's, well, 46 kids, that's not just women's basketball or even men's basketball, because that's only maybe 24, 30, right?
Yeah.
You got 46 that achieve a 3.5 or higher, and then another 16 or whatever, right, that achieved a 3.0. I want to ask you how rewarding is that, but I want to ask you, as somebody who's been an AD there, and now as well as the head coach, now, right, you're in the development process. You can tell us about your new position. Um, so I want to hear about, like, how proud that made you feel, again, because we're talking the residuals, right? The reciprocity, right? Getting that back from everything you put in. But um like, how important is that, man? Like just talk about that. Like, and when I read it, I was like, whoa, like, again, your team, we hear about, man, my team got a 3.0 GPA or 3.2, whatever. But somebody that was over the whole athletic department, talk about that, man.
The thing I'll say, to be totally honest, is when you go to school at Stevens, there's an all women's college with a couple of different entities. We got a conservatory program, they got men and women. Then we got our PA program, they got men and women. But our shell of our college is undergraduate, is all women's. And so for me, coming from a single parent home with my mother, the empowerment of women is major to me because I watch my mother do amazing, phenomenal things. I got two sisters, Donna and Karen, that are phenomenal and strong and independent, and they get it done. And watching that as an administrator, seeing athletes perform at a high level in the classroom was a credit to our staff, our tutors, and then giving them the resources. So making sure they had the resources, then making sure not only was the resources, but when athletic directors hold head coaches accountable,
Mm.
that's the game changer. And we wanted to, whether myself or, when being an AD or, even our AD now, Betty, the one thing, our biggest spills in those administrative roles is what are we doing to make sure the resources for our athletes are there. And, being in that role before, having Betty in that role now, the biggest thing is, are we giving them the best chance to be successful? Do they got what they need to be successful from a resource standpoint? Are the people in place? And here, if, and I'm gonna say this just as a, not even as a recruiter, but if you allow your daughter to go to a place like Stevens, it's almost like cheating because they put them on a whole nother world of a pedestal. And
Mm.
empowerment of young ladies and women is a game changer because it's about them.
Mm.
And they have a resource and a structure that shows it's okay to be a phenomenal, strong, independent you. Just be you. You don't have to come to Stevens. Stevens is not a college that you come to and you have to be perfect. You just
Mm.
have to be you. And I think it allowed those students and student athletes just be phenomenal at just being themselves because they know they got a strong support system, and that culture of the empowerment culture of women is a game changer. And I think for me, even choosing this college, there's three people that really come in mind, and that's Peggy, which is my mother, Karen, which is my older sister, and Donna, which is my second older sister. And to see those women succeed, it's always I'm looking at my sisters or I'm looking at my mother. So making sure we stay on them and hold them accountable to make them
Mm.
dependable is kind of what's got us there. And then our coaches, we all sing the same too. It's not about us. We represent this place as a whole. And so seeing them compete in the classroom and do things like that is really remarkable.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, 61, man. That's incredible. ADs holding coaches accountable. That's big because a lot of times, depending on the success, a lot of times ADs can treat coaches like coaches treat players, and they don't want to, they're scared to lose them, or they're scared to hold them accountable because of fear of losing them.
Yeah,
So as we get ready to close, man, and we've talked about Coach Pat Smith for a while, and I called you back in April after we did our JUCO exposure camp,
yeah,
and I was humble, right? And so just in this profession, um, you learn, you lead, and you leverage, right? And I for me, it was tremendous leverage just for our company, for our event, to have somebody like Coach Knight there. But like I sat down and talked to him. Conversation wasn't no more than 4 or 5 minutes because I'm running an event. And to your point, just the championship mindset. Um, some of the things that he told me in those 4 or 5 minutes um, was kind of contradictory to some of the things that I've heard from some other people in the profession. But it's like you talking to the head honcho, and I know his resume, what he's done, and we talked about back from when he was coaching in Illinois, but yeah, man, just like um, relationships matter. You know what I'm saying? And if you do it long enough, you'll come in contact with some great people
yes,
of all different shapes, sizes, and colors. And um, what I've learned in this profession is that success is what you make it.
yeah,
But those people that are successful, um, they don't mind sharing. They
No,
don't mind
ain't about
helping.
them. Ain't about them.
No, no.
Cause like I tell people all the time, like small story. Even in JUCO, people are like, we ain't trading films with them. We ain't trading film with them. I'm like, we gonna get it from somebody else anyway. I got to the point I tell people like, look, I'll give you 3 tapes on us.
Yeah,
It ain't no secrets.
yeah,
Like I tell people now, you come watch us practice. You still gonna
yeah,
have to guard it, and you're gonna have to run your stuff because we're gonna
yeah,
rush you 40 minutes. We're gonna get out. Like ain't no secret. So like people will tell you and show you. That's why people do coaching clinics and speak and show. Ain't no
yep,
secrets.
yep,
These
yep,
people, some
yep.
of these guys are like some of these people coaches. Some of these guys are weirdos.
Yeah, no, some of them really, really, really try to gatekeep, but I've been, to your point, I've been around a lot of successful guys, Hall of Famers or not, but those are the ones who, man, they will sit you down and talk to you more than you want to listen. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
just pouring into, and so and as a head coach, right, who's been an assistant, what is the biggest thing that you try to impart into your assistants, right? Like Daniel now or whoever, your former players. As a head coach who's been an assistant, knowing what it takes to be a great assistant for a great head coach or great program, what's one thing now as a head coach that you try to impart to your assistants?
I really tell them to want to be a head coach. I don't want them. Yes, coach. I'm gonna do this. Yes, coach. Like, tell me no. I want my assistant now. Like even with Coach Dan when he was with me, because now he's kind of doing this thing. And but Coach Betts even now, like I want him and or them, my other assistants, because I don't have 3. So it's like I want them to feel as they can say, Coach, I don't think we should run that. Coach, I think we should take her over her. Coach, I think we better off doing this or doing that. Like so, the biggest thing is to listen to them because if you hire them to boss them around, you're not helping them.
Yeah.
But if you hire them because they're going to be people that's going to tell you no, and they're going to be people that are going to tell you, Coach, that's not it. Then as a staff, there's a trust that you may tell me all this stuff and I still may say no, but then like the next game, I'm like, oh, he ran in this game. So to give Coach Smith this long paper, he'd be like, I don't think that's it, Andre. We gotta. I'm like, all right, Coach, I hear you. And then, but I'm just telling you, and it's like we will have these battles of understanding. Then you go in the locker room and the game plan is set, and then you look on the board and you're like, yeah, okay. So he was listening, but he wanted to see, or I want to see, like, are you going to just break on your idea? I want to see how strong you standing on taking him or her. How
Right.
strong you standing on? Should we trap this ball screen? Should we switch it?
Mm-hmm.
Should we change this defense or should we not? And I may say we're not doing that. Why would we do that? I want to see you like, why wouldn't we do that? So I want my assistants to
That's
feel
big. Yeah.
another version of me, and this is a we thing. Somebody had to have the title as the head coach.
Right.
Just have the title as the head coach, but together we got to make this thing roll. And so that's what's more important. And so, like even as assistant, I was allowed to say this is the player we
Mm.
gotta
Yeah.
have to take. And so I want to, and there was some things that I wanted to, as an assistant, that I would say to myself, if I was the head coach, I would do things this way. And now that I am, I'm able to allow Andre in another version. So Coach
Mm-hmm.
Betts, I look at Coach Betts as me, and I'm like, do it, great. Like I told Coach Betts when I first hired him, I'm like, man, this girl's really good. She's elite. I'm like, did you offer her? And he looked at me and he said, offer her. I had to make sure I called you first. I said, I want to just tell you one thing from here on out. If I have to be the one to offer her,
I don't
then
need
I hired the right guy.
you. Right. I don't need you.
But out of respect, I knew what he was saying because I've
Right.
been there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to ease his whole recruiting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say when you like her, and then now I can see her and be like, damn, she good. Like good. Then I don't really have to say, hey, good job, anything. I'm saying to myself, like, I got the right guy.
And so you bring up a good point, right? and then I want to get to the speed round so we can get out of here. I want to be respectful of your time. That can be tough, right? So, what do you say to a parent and an athlete who's been offered by the assistant and not the head coach? How valid is that?
The biggest thing and the reason why I told him to do it because once he did it, I want to be able to follow up. He say, "Hey, how you doing, Carver? I'm the head coach at Stevens College. I want to call you. I know you talked to Coach Betts. I
Yeah,
know he offered you, but I wanted to call you myself and offer you too as a head coach. If
yeah,
Coach talked to you and mentioned that he offered you, it's just like I said it.
I'm
So
with it.
I do that to make sure whether I talk to head coaches or parents or JUCO coaches because we do recruit JUCO players, and that was a thing with mine as a creed in JUCO. Like, if you're gonna recruit our players, make sure you're talking to us
Mm-hmm.
because if not, you won't get a player out of here.
Yeah.
So I always follow up behind him and say, hey, once you do it and talk to him, just send me the numbers of the people I need to talk to. And so it's like, oh man, I talked to the assistant and the head coach. And then like the parent can say, hey, how you doing? Like, oh yeah, I want to call you. We're really interested in your daughter. And so I follow up to support him.
Now that's Coach Bell, and
Yeah,
that's Stevens College. And you already told us that Stevens College is different. It's really a cheat code, right? But for the average parent with the average kid, from your standpoint, and not to shit on no other school, right? But if you haven't had communications with the head coach, and I'm for the parent and the athlete, how
it's
how
like,
how valid is that for a parent to be like, oh yeah, we got because and it may be somebody with a Steven shirt on talking
yeah,
about I'm representing,
yeah.
I know Coach Bell, I'm what I'm saying, and people get, oh, I got an offer from, but you ain't really talked to Coach Bell.
We you say that and I laugh because like strategically I put people in places and I'm like, I can't be there. I need you there. Then
Yeah,
I'll call. But like when you I've been there before, so it's like, but I got to a point with Coach Smith, and people knew it. Like Coach Smith was like, Andre does the recruiting. I just touched the signature. But like, if you ain't talking to the head coach, then it ain't that real. I mean, there's the interest level is that assistant showing the interest. We like you, we really like it, and it's like, how many times you talk to the head coach? And that's why I tell people, like, if you want to get in a recruiting battle,
yeah,
I'm ready because I am recruiting like I'm an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator. I am recruiting like I'm the head coach,
yeah.
and that's what I feel for me and for anybody. Like if, and I want to be real short because I know we gotta go, but I would love to, okay, get in the room of people and all the coaches, head coaches or not, put on white t-shirts and let's go recruit. And I can tell you one thing, in my opinion, I feel like because of who I am, relationship with people, so getting to talk to people, and then we walk out the building and the people who recruited follow, and then we put on our shirts and be like, damn, like he got 15 to 20 people right there. I got 10.
Yeah.
Why did all those people go with him? And then I would love to hear those people talk and say why. And I believe that shows who can really recruit. Because we can put on a shirt, we can put on a logo at Nike, it can be all these big times, high major schools. But like, if you didn't have that T-shirt on and they didn't know where you were, and you had to tell them who you are, can you still get that kid? And I feel like I can do it with the best of them because of my mentors. Elena Lovato, associate head coach. We coached together at Trinity Valley. She's associate head coach at Texas. Michael Ennis, national championship coach at Trinity Valley for women. Bill Davis, national championship coach at Trinity Valley. Guy Ferd, national championship coach at Trinity Valley. Coach Pat Smith, multiple Sweet 16s, Elite 8, things of that nature. John Pelfrey, played at Kentucky, recruited over 19 NBA players, worked with Billy Donovan. So my resume of people have trained me to go out and get it done. And so I've just been blessed, man, and I'm really thankful. But when it comes to recruiting, like the head coach is going to be involved because they know they really want that kid. And if they're not, then
Absolutely.
somebody's just keeping you hot, a
Mm,
lukewarm until they come take you. But if not, then like it's serious, but it ain't
it's really not.
Ain't that yet.
Lukewarm. I like that. They're keeping you hot. Lukewarm. All right. So don't threaten me with a good time. Um, she's out there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, talk to your next Steven Stars recruit.
The biggest thing for me, like to be a Steven Star, is to be valued as a person first. The number one priority for me is to make sure our players understand that to play for me is to play for somebody that you can consider a big brother, father figure, and or uncle, somebody that want to invest time and make a commitment to get to know who you are. When it comes to basketball, I just think the pedigree of people, the pedigree of what I have done as a head coach and as an assistant coach, and you know, winning places, kind of speaks for itself. But it's going to be my job as a head coach to get to know you and to put you in the best position to be successful from year one to year four, or
Mm,
from year 3 and 4, because you may be transferring in. But the biggest thing is, if you want to play for somebody who's going to care about you, we'll put that up against anybody in the country, because I know one thing my players can do. I want them to be able to trust me. I want them to be able to count on me. But more importantly, I want them to be able to depend on me. And
mm.
that's what our coach is, and that's what it stands for. So I believe we give you a best chance to be you, be successful, and we're going to be that right with you through the fire and through the storm.
Man, uh, y'all done heard it, right? Y'all heard it from the head coach himself, right? This is what they're doing, right? This is what Coach Bell has done, as I said at the beginning of the show. On the women's side, on the men's side, back to the women's side, this is what he do, and he's just explained it and expressed it. Don't get so caught up with the D1, D2, whatever. Can you win where you at? That's what my dad used to tell me, right? People will remember the champions on whatever level. Can you win where you're at? And I think that that's so important. So Dre, as we get ready to close out, man, I want to ask you a couple quick fire questions, man. And again, I want to close it out by helping the student athlete. Um, um, you already talked about body language and you talked about attitude. Um, as a coach for our prep athletes out here, what's a turn off and what's a turn on?
Energy, effort, passion. That turns me on, man. Seeing kids get after it, competing, and then complainers really turn you off, like
Mm,
lazy, jogging back. Because there's some really talented players that's just like they'll score, they'll jog back, or they'll turn it over and walk up the court. That really turns me on, because I knew what I had to do to be on that court. But I love people that just fire and passion and energy, because don't mistake that for a bad attitude, because some people really care about the game. And so that passion, that energy, and that support, like being on that bench, it's like, yeah, let's go. I really feed off that through my players. So watching kids do that in recruiting is really huge to me.
um, who do you prefer to talk to on the court, your players or the officials?
If you talk to the officials, you don't trust your players.
Mm,
For one thing, Trevor, I'll be totally honest with you, and I don't know how this happened, but I was talking to my sister, so I've been coaching since 2008, whatever the math is, but not having the technical, I got one technical this year because I was talking to Coach Betts, and I'm like, I can't believe they called that. And the lady gave me a tech, so I've had one tech since 2008.
yeah, yeah, no, that's huge, right? You said you talk to the referees, you don't trust your players. Um, I had somebody ask me this question yesterday, and I'm gonna make a video explaining everything about it. But he asked me, so the lead question was, he said he used to be the coach of Malcolm X, right? I said, yep. He said, I've always wanted to ask you this. He said, why did you used to walk to half court when you called a timeout? You walk all the way on the court and you'll wait a minute and then you'll walk back. And I broke it down to him. And to him, it was eye open. It was eye opening. But his response was eye opening to me. But then his follow-up question was this. He said, when did you, and this is the question I want to ask you, when did you do your best coaching? In the game, in timeouts, or in practice? When do you do your best coaching?
I
Your
say,
your
I
your
say,
most meaningful coaching.
I say in practice because in the
Yeah.
game, man, I let our players get it, and I get to feed off my players, and I let our players get it. And some people ask me, man, how do you let your players play so loose and free? How do they play well together? Because in practice, I can get my hands on stuff, I can stop stuff, and I know what I want. And in the game, hey, I mean, you can make some tweaking, some halftime adjustments, and things of that nature, and then game adjustments. But I want my players loose on offense, playing with and through each other, and on defense, stingy and tight. So, like in practice, man, we get after it. But
Yeah.
like, I do my best, coaching and I say, in practice, but then in game, it's a chess match every now and then. But like, don't get too cute because you can get yourself beat too.
Yeah, that was what I kind of told him that yeah, practice is for me. The games is for the players. Um I'm gonna go on a limb and I'm gonna ask you this one, man, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. All right. Guard or big. Who would you prefer? And I'm not talking no names. I'm saying to get you a championship, would you prefer to have the guard leading or the big leading?
I mean, I just gonna be really honest, man. Like you win with guards.
Yeah,
I mean, you win with guards. At the end of the day, you can win with guards. You gotta have bigs, but you win with your guards.
yeah,
From that, because they are so hands on into everything. We're getting into the post and getting into it. And so me, like we had our kid, Chew Crockett, Savannah Crockett. She was a 6'1", 6'2". She started for us at the five, but like she can bring the ball up the court. So not so much for me. I don't really recruit the position, but I go more positionless and versatility. We call them
mm,
specials. But for me, like you win with guards. If you ain't got guards, it ain't happening.
it ain't happening. It
It
ain't
just
happening.
ain't happening. I mean, we just watched the NBA finals. I mean, we just watched. I mean, the
Yeah,
Commissioner's Cup. I mean, those guards got it done for the Fever.
yeah.
Those guards got it done for OKC. So if you ain't got guards, Allenberg go down. We ain't got nobody else we can trust via depth or scoring. We ain't winning. And so I'm going with guards because I know it starts and end there, but you got to have that size.
Um, I got two more. So I heard Gino make a comment about 3, 4 years ago. Um, and he said in Connecticut they don't coach effort, right? Um, can you tell people what you think he meant about that?
If you ain't playing hard, you just ain't playing. Simple as that. Like I ain't finna be telling you go hard or sprint and make the times. Like I mean, like I feel like that because like that's why I recruit. That's why I try to recruit the talented players and the players that got it because it's like, oh, you think you in here because you just can score. Okay. When I take you out, she can score, she can score, she can score, she can
Right.
score. So if you don't compete and you don't play defense, you ain't gonna play anyway.
Mm,
So ain't nobody gonna keep telling you to get back and close out the box out and sprint. So I agree with that 1,000%. You because if you mindless and Nick Saban said this, mindless and lazy people don't like hardworking, overachieving people, and lazy people don't like hardworking, overachieving. So eventually, you'll
yeah,
part ways anyway.
yeah,
But like, you ain't gonna compete here. You ain't playing here anyway. I don't care what level. We've had D1 players come off the bench. But
yeah,
so me, I don't care about none of that. You gonna compete.
yeah. Last question, man. I appreciate your time. So I know that y'all run basketball camps, right? And we've worked basketball camps. 5 star. I think the one and only 5 star camp we worked together. I just heard that Armani, uh, yeah, Armani just won like a cup wherever he's up playing, right? Armani Cheney, and he was a freshman
Yeah.
when we was at 5 star. But I tell my clients that I work with in our Who's Mastery program, I say a cheat code, And I just recently heard Coach Brian Penny Collins, that was at Tennessee State, right? We are doing some work with them. He just got an assistant job at for Memphis Grizzlies now, right? But he was talking about camps are the cheat code, right? And I tell athletes and parents, there's college coaches working these camps, and if you can go to a local college camp, you'll have other coaches that are working these camps, and this is where you start building the relationships. You may not go to Northern Illinois camp, but it's other coaches that are working that camp that you then build relationships, and they know everybody. And I know that there's one thing that you've brought to the school and it's grown, and y'all add more sessions. A lot of people are looking for exposure. They want to go to these summer and spring events to be in a gym where college coaches are. But the easiest route is to pay the money and go to a local camp. Talk about y'all camp and talk about the benefits, the long-term benefits that can come from attending a local camp, particularly like Stevens.
So for me, like say, the first thing I do is like even with the youth camps give us a chance to give back to the community and to help the youth get better and support. So very affordable, very cheap, things of that nature. But the biggest thing we do is we really teach. We teach the fundamentals and the skill because one day that kid is going to have a chance and opportunity possibly to play college basketball. They will remember how much time you spent on correcting and coaching them. More importantly, the parent will. And then when you think about the elite camps that you can go to and deal with different coaches who work different camps, or then if you think about our elite camps, I try to set Stevens College elite camps up so that we have exposure evaluation, which is when we do our elite camps, because we recruit from 8th grade to 12th. So we got a live evaluator there. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can have him evaluate and talk about people, then they put stuff out.
Yeah.
And for our other coaches, softball, volleyball, soccer, because I'm the camp director as well, I want to make sure they understand how important it is because we're here to create a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Brand has to create a wave of people who want to come in. And
Mm-hmm.
that, as we take care of the youth, now we can use it as a recruiting tool to attract people to why I am coming here.
Yeah.
And when you leave there, you may leave there with a couple college offers. If it's multiple coaches or if it's just a coach of Stevens or wherever college you go to, you may leave that program with a college offer. And then you leave like, oh, what's so exciting, man? I got offered today by Coach Bell. I got offered together
Mm-hmm.
by Coach at Duke or Kentucky or Kansas. Or so you can leave those places with offers. So it's really important that you pick a few. You don't need to go to 5 or 6. I think about 2 or 3 good elite camps is really good for those college athletes, whether men or women.
Yeah, I think that's great information. I think you broke it down a little bit further, than what I was saying, because as you said, ultimately, man, if I get a chance to play college basketball, why not go back to the dude or the program that showed me how to, the really the person that helped bring more joy to
Yep.
me
Yep.
from the game, because that's ultimately what it is. Last but not least, man, I always like asking, how do we improve basketball? I want you to answer that question, but you mentioned that y'all going to play Tennessee Tech. And so relationships matter, and God will put you in position to blow your mind sometime, right? And so, you know, as an assistant at Tennessee Tech, to leave there, as you stated, right, for the benefit of your family. And that's why I asked you, like, how challenging was coaching, because it's, you deal with different personalities, but you also get your family, your life. Going back there, man, how surreal is that, right? Like, because it's not just you, like your whole family. Like you used to have the kids in the gym after, you know what I'm saying? Like going back there now, and I know the competitor in you, you like, you want to go beat them by 50, you know what I'm saying? But how full circle is that?
Um, Kim Rosen is a really good friend of mine. Like I went there with John Perfect, but I made a great relationship with the head women's basketball coach there, and Kim Roseman does a really good job. And the thing we get to do is we go measure ourselves against the best. So just going back there and getting a chance to speak to people, get you the opportunity to just be at that level is phenomenal. But again, when you go to those places and you build those relationships, so like me and her are like really connected, close.
Okay.
So, having John Pepper as the person that I was teamed up with, coaching with, but then Kim Roseman bumped me in the hallway one day. I was like, I looked at your resume. You coached at Trinity Valley and you coach women. And I
Yeah.
know you know how to recruit. So if
Yeah.
you got anything I should be doing or people I should be talking to, so, those relationships matter. And just to go back and have a chance to be given an opportunity to go play on that stage and get the school exposure and have a chance to compete at a high level against the best. And I mean, you just take those opportunities. But like I say, the relationship is a reason that she able to. I mean, because there's other people in the Kentucky area, Tennessee area that she can play. We're coming from Missouri, so when you got those connectors and friends, you can travel to those places. So I'm excited and I feel really good that to have her in my corner just in general was a
Yeah.
reason we get a chance to go back there.
Yeah, man. Um, so now how do we improve basketball, Dre?
The biggest thing is, what can we do to continue to put out a brand that says we're still teaching. We understand the adjustment of the transactional thing that this thing has become, but in the portal, in the constant transfer world, in the no relationship world, what can we do to try to bring transformation back? What
Mm,
can we do to really give back to the youth and educate them on if they are making these decisions? Because it starts and ends with these head coaches that win and they skate out. So all they did was created that so the kids are seeing that as well. The head coach get to leave, why I can't leave? So
right.
what can we do to model the right behavior that shows consistency of sticking with something, getting through something, staying with something, but also allowing them a chance to know why. Well, if you make this decision, well, we appreciate everything. And like sometimes you gotta ask, what can I have done better to keep you here? Or what could have been better? And then sometimes you've done it all. But like let's try to bring transformation back where we get to learn who is playing for us. Because what they do is score, rebound, defend, and very talented. But get to know who your players are because sometimes that could be the difference in staying or going. And if people understand and knew how talented Savannah True Crockett was, and they look up and say, "She went there, she stayed there, she did." She's a culture changer for her program. Phenomenal young lady who dominated this level, who dominated at the Division 1 level. She was a freshman of the year, Cleveland State. She came here, was newcomer player of the year, back-to-back defensive of the year. But I got to know her. Just like Lejanique Perry Ellis, who came back with us this year. Division 1 transfer from Morehead State. Her culture and our relationship is the reason she stayed. And she could have had other opportunities, but she said, Coach, I can't do this. This is where I want to be because of
Mhm.
our relationships and her mom and everybody stood by and supported. So, let's be transformational a little bit closer back to the game as everything started to get better and you start to get a handle on the transformation of paying kids to play and things of that nature, which is phenomenal. But let's get to know our players. And I think that'll kind of help keep some of them at bay and on your campus.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Let's get rid of, or let's do less of the transactional things. What's in it for me, right? What can you do for me? What can I do for you? But let's make it more transformational because ultimately the transformational part will stay with them much longer than the transaction. That's why you have so many athletes who will never step foot back into on the campus in which they went to school, less known step foot in the gym because as they got older, they understood it was transactional. And a lot of times that causes people to feel used. And what I'm hearing you saying, like the transformational, that builds trust, makes those players want to run through walls for you, make those players want to invite you to their weddings, bring their kids back to have you teach them. All those things that you and I have both experienced. So I second that, man. The game and just even in teaching should be more transformational because it'll go a long way. And the payoffs is much greater for everybody involved because in closing, as you talked about at the beginning, single parent household or latchkey kids or all of that, unfortunately, those individuals are being priced out of basketball. And that's taken away from the transformational because everything seems transactional, right? And I think that's why I know that's why you've had the success that you've had at Stevens College, right? And every place that you've been, but more recently, last 4 years there, because even just listening to you talk, it's all about development. It's all about helping people become the best version of themselves. And at the end of the day, they won't forget how you made them feel. They may forget that you didn't put them in this game or you didn't get them this shot, but they'll never forget how you made them feel about themselves. That ultimately help propel them to wherever they are in their life. So, Dre, man, I appreciate you as always, man. As always, you're a resident host here. I always like listening to you because it's bigger than basketball, right? Some people you talk to are just about X and O's, and no disrespect to them, because those conversations are great too. But really sitting down and being able to help parents and athletes understand that coaches are people, and coaching people that sit in that first seat do a lot more than just drawing a clipboard, right? It's a lot more that goes involved with having a championship program as opposed to a club program. So, Dre, I appreciate you, man. You already know whatever you need. If you need something from me, I will. If I'm available, more than willing, to help. At some point, we do got to hop on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? The holler at them, whatever. But nevertheless, man, I appreciate you. Good luck next year. Let's do it 3 times, right? Ain't nothing sweeter than a repeater. Might as well, do it 3 times and take it, definitely take it there. I know what brings me joy is knowing that, the people that we might be still in those same circles, they are extremely proud of you. From Keith to Spook, Chansey, whoever, Billy, extremely proud of where you've gone because, as you said, if I do this for me, I'm gonna do it for all y'all. Right. So you get on ESPN, you know what I'm saying? You ain't you as you said, family, program, and college, and it's a lot of people that you call family and they call you family, and so I appreciate you, man. In closing, I always say strive for the top because it's crowded as hell at the bottom. Stevens College head coach Andre Bell. Dre, I appreciate you, my brother. Keep on doing great things, and let me know if you need me.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it a lot.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. We are out of here, and we will close out as we always do with the theme music for the day. Peace out.
Yo, just so you understand it, this is Coach Carvel Bailey's program with the spirit of Bob Hambry. This is Blessed of All, helping athletes, and we represent. Study your craft, your mentality leads to excellence. It's all about your mindset. We'll never stop addressing this, so be positive and not a pessimist. Confidence took James Harden higher. If you really want it, it ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as carbon fiber, but we got you. From counseling to workshops, we do it. You'll go farther with a scholarship. We'll help you get recruited. Yo, anyone can dribble and shoot, but it's the ones who study basketball internally that make it to Duke University. Knowledge goes around. The game is played from the neck up and not from the shoulders down. This is Bless the Ball, helping you with obstacles. The athletes are the rocket. Bless the Ball is the rocket fuel. If you hit a wall, we can help you slowly climb it. So keep a Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant.
Bless the ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Bless the ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Bless the ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play.
Bless the ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Bless the ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Bless the ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Yo, Coach Carvell Bailey. Hey, listen to your coach, man. He ain't no scrub off the street. That man got credentials, academic and street. Believe it, and my name is strategic.